Did you know that Disney World has its own government, has a GDP larger than some entire countries, and plays some surprising tricks to manage its voting population? Kinda sounds like it's its own country, doesn't it? We'll give you the details. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now this is a little departure for us, but we really wanted to test out this theory that Disney World is essentially its own small country. And there's a lot that they have done to control the circumstances around them. And we want to share all of that with you. We've got a lot of details and we think you'll find it pretty interesting. Everyone's always shocked when I explain how big Disney World is. And in truth, it's massive in every facet of its operation. Disney spends a ton of money on its parks. For example, Michael Nathanson, who's a longtime media analyst, estimates that Disney will spend $24 billion on new attractions, hotels, and ships over the next 5 years. Now that's more than Disney paid for Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilm combined. Why wouldn't they when profits from their theme parks have increased 100% in the past 5 years? And the largest and most visited Disney park, Disney World, has around 55 million visitors per year. That's just about as many tourists as Hong Kong and Chicago receive every year, just a little fewer than the number of tourists who visited all of Italy in 2017. And that's not the only way Disney World is like a small country. We crunched those numbers and gathered the facts, and boy, there are a lot of numbers, to find out just how much Disney World is like a small country. First, Disney World has its own government. So, Walt Disney World is basically the ultimate do-over to fix every mistake that was made in Anaheim. Walt didn't like all of the businesses popping up around Disneyland, so when he was searching for property in Florida, the top priorities were easy access via highway and undeveloped land to create his theme park, as well as the original Epcot concept, which was a futuristic planned city with both residential and commercial areas. In order to create something like that, Disney would need near complete autonomy over their own municipal government, without all that bureaucratic red tape. So, the Reedy Creek Improvement District was created by the state of Florida in 1967, with help from the rousing posthumous testimony from Walt about his concept for Epcot. Disney World has complete control over this municipality, which is around 40 square miles in size, about the same size as San Francisco, or just a bit smaller than the country of Liechtenstein. Now, this includes the cities of Lake Buena Vista and Bay Lake, as well as some unincorporated land on the outskirts of Osceola and Orange counties. RCID, the Reedy Creek Improvement District, has complete control over services like power, water, sewage, garbage collection, road construction and maintenance, environmental testing and monitoring, and fire protection and emergency medical services. Now, Disney only needs to outsource elevator inspections and property tax collections to the county and state. And in 1968, after the original plans for Epcot had been scrapped, in a court case between the state and RCID, Disney World maintained the right to issue their own tax-exempt bonds for road building and improvements, which had a huge impact on the growth of Disney World in the beginning. More recently, Disney World was able to use a tax-exempt bond to create the new parking garages at Disney Springs. Now, building a theme park takes a long time waiting for rezoning and building code checks and applying for those tax-exempt bonds, but Disney World can handle all of that internally, so they can get things done a whole lot faster. Now, even though Universal was the first to develop the idea for a movie-themed park, Disney World opened Hollywood Studios first because they didn't have to go through all of the red tape. Both Bay Lake and Lake Buena Vista also have the ability to establish their own court system, as well as operate hospitals and medical testing facilities, airports, and even a nuclear power plant. Things that haven't come to pass yet, but would have been important if Epcot had been created as planned. The original plans for Epcot didn't quite work out. Instead, Epcot is made up of a bunch of small countries, but that doesn't mean that no one lives on Disney property. Disney World has the population of a South Pacific island. 44 residents, handpicked by Disney, live at the Disney World Resort in 2 gated communities that are tucked away from the theme parks and hotels. This sets Disney pretty far apart from most small countries, but the Pitcairn Islands in the South Pacific, still considered a British overseas territory, only have around 50 residents. Residents of Disney World own their own homes, but they lease their land directly from Disney for around $75 per month. and most homeowners are current Disney employees or retired Disney employees. They do have a 10-member council that votes on things like pollution control, board appointments, hours for alcohol sales during special events at the theme parks, and law enforcement contracts. There's also the communities of the super exclusive and expensive Golden Oak. Homes there start at $2 million with a $25,000 annual due, and the project is capped at around 300 homes. And of course, there's Celebration, Disney's residential town concept. This has a population population of 7,427, and these communities bring the Disney population close to the second least populated country in the world, Tuvalu, which is an island nation just north of Fiji, which had around 10,000 citizens in the last census. So both Golden Oak and Celebration have been de-annexed from RCID so that Disney can maintain more control over Disney World property. Only landowners in RCID can vote on governmental changes and elect the 5-member Board of Supervisors that governs the district. The board members have deep ties to Disney, the district, or both, and all own undeveloped plots of land on Disney property that they must give back if they resign from the board. And only those 44 residents who live on property have any direct voting rights regarding what happens at the Disney parks. It makes good business sense for Disney to tightly control the voting population to make sure the Reedy Creek Improvement District acts in the company's best interest. Now let's talk tourism. Disney World creates more tourism jobs than the most visited country in the world. Disney World provides a ton of jobs in the state of Florida. A 2009 report states that more than 1 in 50 employed Floridians had a job tied directly or indirectly to Disney World, around 373,000 people out of Florida's 20 million plus residents. In Central Florida, Disney World jobs make up 6% of the workforce. By comparison, in France, the most visited country in the world, with nearly 87 million visitors each year, tourism-related jobs only make up about 2% of the workforce. Tourism jobs at Walt Disney World encompass anything from those senior board members to the cast members you see around the parks, and loads of behind-the-scenes jobs like Imagineers, call center workers, and delivery drivers. Disney World is the largest single-site employer in the United States, and with 167 miles of roadway, 67 miles of waterway, an electric power generating facility, water treatment facility, and a recycling center, there are plenty of public sector jobs with Reedy Creek too. All parking garages are owned and staffed by Reedy Creek Power and Water employees as well. Bus and monorail employees are Disney employees. RCID has its own fire department, Reedy Creek Professional Firefighters, responsible for protecting the magic of the Walt Disney World Resort. And the fire department provides emergency services to the entire Disney World Resort area. On average, 140,000 people visit Disney World each day, which generates 40,000 calls for medical service each year. And law enforcement is contracted with Orange and Osceola County Police Departments and the Florida Highway Patrol. Disney does employ around 800 private security staff who are involved with traffic control and may only issue personnel violation notices to Disney and RCID employees, not the general public. Now, let's talk GDP. You could make the argument that Disney World has a greater GDP than Iceland. When Disney World opened, it was set to generate unprecedented amounts of revenue for the state of Florida. In 1967, a book titled The Economic Impact of Disney World on Florida predicted that within the first 10 years of operation, Disney World will directly generate a measurable addition in excess of $6.6 billion in new wealth to the economy of Florida. So taking inflation into account, that's over $49 billion today, or about $5 billion per year in today's dollar. These numbers have skyrocketed in recent years, though. So according to a 2011 report, the $18.2 billion in annual economic activity generated locally by Walt Disney Parks and Resorts accounts for 2.5% of Florida's gross domestic product. That is a huge amount of money coming into Central Florida. And by comparison, Iceland, the entire country, had a GDP of roughly $15 billion in 2011. Economic activity generated by the Disney theme parks isn't all Disney World provides to the state. Disney is the largest taxpayer in the state of Florida. They paid around $102.6 million in 2016, with an average increase of about 10% per year. Those numbers exclude what Disney pays its private government in property taxes. And that's even with the unique tax situation Disney benefits from. The original 27,000 acres spanned 2 counties, so Disney was concerned with how it would be taxed and if large parts of undeveloped land would be taxed as resort property, obviously a much higher rate than the agricultural land it had previously been, another reason for the creation of the RCID. So Disney World doesn't pay taxes to nearby counties, however, they also don't rely on other counties for public services like fire and emergency services, water and power resources, etc., even though that alone reduces their tax bill. Disney World has an almost yearly court date to fight the classification of its land to reduce taxes. Animal Kingdom had been reclassified from 340 acres of tourist attraction land down to just 200 acres by designating that 140 acres as less valuable parking lots in agricultural areas, while Disney World has been able to reduce its quote-unquote value by $35 million, resulting in lower taxes. And Florida residents don't pay income tax. Instead, large amounts of taxes are collected through tourism outlets like the bed tax. With all the resorts at Disney World and all the new ones being built, result, you can bet Disney brings in a whole lot of bed tax revenue. This bed tax generates over $200 million each year for Orange County. Bed tax or tourist tax is a common practice around the world. For Disney World guests, there's an extra layer of complication. Since Disney World is located in 2 different counties, you'll find a different tax rate whether you're in Orange or Osceola County. The tax on your Orange County hotel room will be 12.5%, while in Osceola, it'll be 13.5%. So Disney World is so huge and sprawling that depending on which park or resort you're in, you could literally be in a different county and have a different tax rate. So, with varying tax rates, government bonds, a massive GDP, a thriving tourism industry, and their own government, Disney World certainly has many of the qualities of a small country. Now, I hope you found that interesting. We think it's fascinating, but let us know in the comments what you think. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you know about Disney World's history and current status. Let us know in the comments. Thanks for listening, you guys. Thanks for watching. This is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.